Welcome to Please Me, the award-winning Sexuality Podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. I'm thrilled to announce that Please Me is the #1 ranked sexuality podcast in the USA and worldwide. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Join me and my guests as we dive into conversations around orgasm equality, self-love, body positivity, and essential sex education. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap, one empowering conversation at a time. Last episode, Ben joined me for the Kink series and walked me through the handmade kink toys at the Kink Shop. With 97% of their floggers and sensory play items crafted in-house, it's a must-hear for anyone shopping for a new bunny flogger or rubber whip. Today I'm bringing you my favorite interview of the season from What If You Could podcast. Gary Scott opens with What If You Could? And I respond with the truth I usually keep off the record. From there, the conversation takes a surprisingly spicy turn. I'm thrilled to share that Please Me has been honored with 3 major Spotify awards in 2025. The Rising Star Award, where my show outpaced 99% of other podcasts. The Marathon Show Award, where my fans listened longer than 99% of other shows. And the Most Shared Show Award, where Please Me was shared more than 98% of all podcasts. Huge thanks to everyone who has rated, reviewed, and shared Please Me. Because of you, we're now the #1 sexuality podcast in the world. If you're listening, be sure to subscribe to this channel, leave a review, and comment on your favorite show. I reply to every message and love hearing from you as we share self-love and sexual empowerment across the globe. According to my Spotify Wrapped, 6.5 thousand of you ranked the show in your top 10. 6,000 put Please Me in your top 5, and 2.3 thousand named it your #1 podcast. I am blown away. Thank you so much for your support, the love, and for being the spiciest listeners a host could ask for. Through the end of the year, I'm continuing to raise funds for the survivors of the catastrophic typhoon in the Philippines, which struck just weeks after a devastating 6.9 magnitude earthquake hit the same region. Please check the show notes for the donation link. Any support you can give is truly appreciated. Want to ask a question for the Please Me podcast? Join the conversation on Patreon or subscribe to my Substack newsletter for exclusive content, behind-the-scenes updates, and a chance to have your questions featured on the show. Patreon also includes the full Kink series episodes, exclusive guest photo shoots, and a New Orleans photo set of me. Step into the community for more intimacy, education, and sex-positive insights. Please Me is for mature audiences, so sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me.
And I often say that we can all learn from the kink community because they do communication so well. And it's often something that I talk about on my show, Please Me Podcast, because if you're not letting people know what your needs and your desires are, you're not going to be able to close that orgasm gap for yourself. So I'm all for empowering ourselves, and that was one thing that I really wanted to do for myself, is to go to this conference to learn from all of these amazing.
Eve here from Please Me Podcast. I'm here with my must-haves for the holidays. If you're looking for gifts that never go out of style, look no further. Or treat yourself to these incredible products that I can't live without. Parlor Game's estrogen and progesterone topical creams will keep your libido revving and your lady bits happy. I love the Silky Peach Cream and Vibrant Third for keeping my hormones in balance. Maybe you want to give the gift of health. Get the latest in stem cell technology, pain relief, and inflammation reduction from LifeWave. After COVID, I gave up wearing a bra, and I have found the best solution to having that seamless look without the discomfort of a bra. Cakes are non-adhesive pads that naturally adhere to your skin and always look flawless. They make such a great gift too. I never start my day without taking my Juice Plus chewables. They come in capsules too and are a great way to get the nutrition of 30 fruits and veggies into your diet easy. Don't forget the omegas for brain health and heart health. I never start my day without a Juice Plus shake. With the glycemic index of broccoli and great plant-based protein, they are perfect when you are on the go. Every day, I check on my tower garden and harvest a bowl of greens for lunch. The aeroponic garden is the ultimate in grow-at-home technology and helps me get my veggies in daily for tower to plate eating. Maybe you're wondering, what about my intimate time, Eve? Don't forget that I love Bonnie's Herbals and her sex butter and boudoir butter. And of course, everyone loves toys for the holidays. Get your sexy toys now at pleaseme.online. Happy, healthy, and sexy holidays.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the What If You Could podcast. And today, my guest is Eve Hall. Hello, Eve Hall.
Hi, how are you today?
Oh, I'm just living the dream, baby. You know that. I'm always living the dream. I can't help it. But I know you've got all sorts of engagement, so I'm excited to get cooking in this. So real quick, I'm just going to read your introduction, your bio, and we'll get cooking. So everybody, we have Eve Hall is a licensed physical therapist who treats conditions regarding sexual health. Eve is also a certified health coach who is on a mission to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health. Eve is the host of the podcast called Please Me. Please me, baby. Oh, please me. I'll please you, you please me. Sorry, got distracted. Where she covers all sorts of topics related to sexuality, such as safe sex, kink and fetish, orgasm, big clit energy. I love that. Relationship options, and so much more. Eve is the creator of the growing Orgasm Revolution, where Eve aims to bring awareness to the orgasm gap and close women's orgasm gap one orgasm at a time, or one person at a time, with the education, awareness, and communication. And all of that is good, yummy stuff. So, Eve, I know I've been talking a lot, and I'm sorry, but I'll shut up, I promise. I just have one last thing, and we're the What If You Could podcast. So, Eve Hall, what is your what if you could?
That is a really great question. And I have so many things that I can sort of go off of. But one thing popped in my mind when you asked me this earlier, and I'm going to say, what if I could come back as a dominatrix? That would be my what if you could.
Why do you need to come back to do that?
That's true. I could do it in this lifetime for sure. And the reason why I said that was that about a week and a half ago, I spent about 5 days at a conference called DomCon. And it is a conference where professional dominatrixes come together and teach their craft. And it was like coming home all over again. However, I'm completely new to the scene. I dabble in kink, and I often say that we can all learn from the kink community because they do communication so well. And it's often something that I talk about on my show, Please Me Podcast, because if you're not letting people know what your needs and your desires are, you're not going to be able to close that orgasm gap for yourself. So I'm all for empowering ourselves. And that was one thing that I really wanted to do for myself, is to go to this conference to learn from all of these amazing women.
You know, most men, and especially powerful men, men who have to make decisions, are always in charge, who always are, have to be powerful and exude this leadership and power stuff. CEOs, politicians, stuff like that, love a dominatrix. They love a woman who will dominate them. In the same way, a lot of women just want to submit and just like, oh, I've done the dishes, I took care of the kids, I have to run the household, I have to do this. Just take care of me. Or as your podcast says, please me, right? But I think, did you see when you're out the domcom that a lot of men love to be dominated by women?
Yes, 100%. And you're absolutely right. Oftentimes they are in positions of power, and to relinquish that power and to give it to somebody else that you trust and allow them to do the things to you that you want them to do, depending on what you decide your kink is, right? Is just a beautiful expression of, trying to get your needs met in a whole different way. And I think that oftentimes sex workers fulfill this role in our society because people are afraid to have communication and talk to their partners, talk to their husbands, wives, etc., or boyfriends, girlfriends, or whatever that may be, about what their true desires are. And so oftentimes sex workers are used in order to fulfill those needs and desires and fantasies. And I think that we really have the opportunity to, if we learn how to communicate properly, to really fulfill those fantasies within the relationships we're in.
Comes down to trust. Comes down to trust. I mean, a guy
Mhm.
says, "Hey, man, I want you to blindfold me, tie me down to the bed, and do whatever you want with me because I just want to relinquish everything," right? And it's very difficult for a man to say that. And the other side of it, it's difficult for his spouse or partner, wife, woman, whatever they're with, to know what to do. What boundaries? I mean, there's a lot behind the trust of relinquishing that sort of power to someone.
Yes, trust is so, so important. And it's something that develops over time. So, initially in an early relationship, that trust is not going to be there. But as you get to know the person, as you get to have more conversations with the person and tell them what your boundaries are and see that they respect those boundaries, then the trust can build. And so, same thing in a dominatrix or dom sub relationship. If you are expressing your needs and wants, and the Dom is able to meet those boundaries, push you to your limits, but not cross the line, and you will build trust in that person. And then maybe eventually you can explore other things that might be a no right now, might become a yes later on down the road.
Yeah, I mean, one person might want to be blindfolded and tickled, and the other one might want to be tied up and whipped with with a cat of nine tails, and everything in between. I think most people believe that, oh, men are naturally dominant and women are naturally submissive, but that's not necessarily true, is it?
No, it's not. And I think that both men and women have both aspects of those things inside of them. And we can really explore on both sides of that continuum. And so that's, some people consider themselves a switch, which I do because I do like to submit. I like to be taken care of. I like to be pampered, and I like my pleasure needs to be met. And I also like to be in control. I like to dominate as well. And I like to be the one in charge of creating something beautiful for somebody else that they can take away from that space and have a memory of.
I'm a total switch. I mean, I'm dominant by nature. I'm an Aries, so I'm dominant by nature. But there are times when I go, you know what? Why don't you take care of this shit for a little bit? Why don't we role reversal? And here's the reason for me why is it feels good to give someone else the power, right? I mean, someone who is uncomfortable taking control or someone who's uncomfortable taking the power, right? And so to give that to them, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I don't know. Ooh, ow, ooh, I don't know. The next thing you're like, dude, slow it down a little bit, right? It's like once you get that feeling of that power and that control, it's like, this feels really good because I've been shit on my whole life. It feels good to take the other side of this and have some power. So to give that to someone sometimes will open up all sorts of good yumminess.
100%. And power is, the dynamic that you're playing with, right? And what's interesting is that if you feel like you've been a victim or you have been a victim of some sort of abuse, sexual abuse or rape or something like that, and then you play with the power dynamics and you take control, it can actually be very healing, which I find super fascinating, but absolutely true. So there's many avenues to healing, and I think that kink is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of your story, right? I mean your story was you did have issues, abuse issues early in life, and then you went ahead and got married. I have no idea what happened during that period of time, but then when you separated, you kind of said, "I'm unleashing all Eve Hall hell. I'm gonna go and do the doo-doo that I do." And this is kind of how you found yourself where you are, right? I mean, you want to share a little bit of that?
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, my story is that I was sexually abused from the time I was 5 to the time that I was 11 by 5 people, and all people that I knew. And having had that experience, I went through lots of healing phases in my life. And what's super interesting is that after I got divorced from a sexless marriage, um, I, like you said, unleashed the Eve Hall that was hiding inside of me, and wanted to explore. And I released the shame that was surrounding, sexuality in my life and my body image. And I released all of that shame and was able to come to a place where I felt like I was on a path to sexual liberation. And I feel like I'm still marching down that path, and learning more and more things about myself because the curiosity is there. And that's one of the things that I try to tell people is that if you have curiosity around exploring in the bedroom, you can really make your sex life as amazing as possible. It can be explosive.
You know, Eve, you just unleashed so many different thoughts there, right? Because childhood just fucks up our sex so much. Marriages, sexless marriages. I mean, I really want to get into that because that's a big deal. And then the leaving and then finding this sensuality, this sexuality, this beast within from a sexless marriage is just so interesting, right? But to touch on childhood, I mean, I had the weirdest. I'm a twisted sex person. I guess I could say that on a podcast. Who cares? Um, when I was
Well, you've
when I
already
was
confessed that you were a switch. So
right, I know it's probably going to get worse before it gets better here.
I love it. I love
But
it.
that's why we're here. On the Please Me podcast or wherever we are. Um, but I grew up with my grandfather had a very successful screening room on Sunset Strip in LA, and my uncle had a screening room also, and my grandfather's was like old school. Howard Hughes lived in it. I mean, just a trippy, great history about my grandfather's. But my uncle was more of a traditional, just he'd film anybody, and in a screening room, basically, you make a movie. Eve Hall makes a movie and she wants someone to buy it, right? So that they now will promote it and put it out in theaters and stuff. So you have to screen it somewhere so people come and watch it, whether they want to be the person who buys it. Well, from the time I was 8 till I was like 12, when I was working at my uncle's screening room, 90% of the stuff that he screened was porn
Oh,
because
wow.
they made 10 porn movies for every one movie because that was the day back in the day you had to go to a theater, right? You had to go to a porn theater. It's not like today. That was even before VHS, right? So here I am working and watching all these movies from the time I'm 8 till I'm 12, watching hardcore porn, going, he put that where? Wait, what? I'm looking down and going, so I had a very warped idea of what sex was until today, until literally this minute. So when you're dealing with people, because you're a sex therapist and a sex healer and educator, stuff like that, I mean, how much do people's childhoods really fuck up their sex lives?
A lot. A lot, depending on their childhood, and unfortunately, we're taught to be shameful about our bodies. We're taught to be ashamed of sex itself. And so that also societally and religiously, whatever religion you belong to, even sometimes your friends, will shame you that really messes with you as well. So yes, your experiences can really mess up your idea of sex, but so can, all of the systems that we live in. And so being really conscious of that and then trying to erase that shame is so important in order for you to really hone in on your personal, um, you know, I would say, path to that sexual liberation that I hope that everybody listening is interested in hopping on.
You know, sexless marriages, sexless marriages, so bizarre, sexless marriages, because you meet someone, you're obviously compatible, you get along. Maybe the sex was hot in the beginning, or maybe you didn't have sex for whatever reasons early, thinking you'd grow into it. When I married my first wife, who passed from cancer, but when I married my first wife, she was 18 and I was 20, and she was a virgin. She said, I don't want to have sex till marriage." I'm like, "Well, can we get married this afternoon?" But we had a 2-year engagement, and so we lived together. So for 2 years, we didn't have sex, and we did other things, to kind of make pleasure each other. But so on our honeymoon, like it's the big thing, right? It's like, okay, we got to do this, right? It took like 3 days for us to consummate that because we're both like,
Wow,
"Dude, I don't even know what to do anymore, and you're new, and I want this to be good, right? It's your first time and all this."
that's pressure.
It's a lot of pressure, right? I mean, right? But I had all these visions because I had seen all this porn, and I'd obviously had sex with other women, she had. But but when you get into the sexless marriage thing, I've always found it so interesting. It's kind of like when a guy is really slothern, he's out of shape, he's fat, he comes home, drinks beer, sits there, watches ESPN, gets out of shape, and his wife just loses interest in him, right? And then they divorce, and he goes to the gym, and he gets in shape, and he gets a better job. I'm like, why didn't you do that when you were married, right? So, how do people end up in a sexless marriage?
Well, I can only speak for myself. And I do think that there were certain things that sort of made it worse. And then eventually it just stopped. But we wanted to have children. So that was one of the main reasons why we got married. And unfortunately, we were not able to have children in the regular way. And so I had 2 children through in vitro fertilization. So I think that number one took the emphasis of sex out of our marriage early on. Also, my ex-husband was one of those people that loves to watch ESPN, and he would sleep with his television. Literally, he would sleep in the living room because I refused to put a TV in the bedroom because I knew that it would be on all night long, and I can't sleep with the TV on because I'm hearing what's happening on TV and it wakes me up. And so I can't get a good night's sleep. So he would sleep in the living room. And for, I would say, probably the first year or two of our marriage, I would wake up every day in the middle of the night, or every night in the middle of the night. And I would go to the living room and I would say, "Hey, come to bed, come to bed." And then at some point, I said, "Fuck that shit. I'm going to sleep, and I'm sleeping all night, and I'm not going to worry about him sleeping on the couch and not sleeping in bed with me." But the bottom line is that we very early on slept in different spaces. So obviously there wasn't as much opportunity, but that didn't mean that I wasn't a sexual person. I had that vibrator going almost every day, and I have always been a truly sexual person. And so I was really very much mismatched in my marriage. And, that is now history. Thank goodness. I'm much happier on the other side.
Literally on both sides, which is good, which is a super healthy thing
On
too.
both sides.
I think both sides is awesome. The It's really interesting the different things that I've discovered talking to a lot of different people, a lot of friends, and going through it myself with my first marriage is, you get together, it's passionate, it's fun and stuff. And then you go, well, I guess we got to start having kids. So you start having kids. And then everyone knows, I mean, we had two kids back to back within 16 months. And so that's exhausting, right? I mean, as much as I freaking love my two boys, and now my oldest son has two boys back to back, very close in age. My youngest son has a girl. And I'm like, see how hard this is? I mean, you're gonna love it. It's the hardest job you'll ever have, but it's hard, right? So, women are drained, men are drained. It's hard to get fired up, right? To all right, let's do the biggie while the kids are sleeping. So there's a lot of things that get in the way, right, with marriages. You got to keep that fire alive somehow.
It's really, really important. And one of the things that I've talked to several guests about on my show is scheduling sex. And a lot of times people think, oh, well, it's supposed to be spontaneous. And, that's what it's like in the movies. And, you go and the person throws you up against the wall and it's like all this like amazing passion. And that is just not the reality when you are in a relationship for a long time, if you're long term or you're married and you have children and you have 20 million responsibilities. So you have to really make the time for having intimate time together. And if you don't, it will eventually dwindle to nothing. So it's super important to make that time. And I think scheduling that time is a great idea because it's something that you both will then look forward to.
Yeah, I love the idea of scheduling, and I also love toys.
I love
Theoretically,
toys
I don't
too.
have
Yes.
lots and lots of sex toys. Theoretically, I don't want to get myself in too much, or my wife is going to kill me for this one. But I'm a huge believer in adult. What do they call them? Adult
Sex toys.
novelties. That's what it is.
Mhm.
I'm a huge believer in adult novelties because I believe that. Maybe one person's not in the mood. It's like, well, let me help you out. Let me help a sister out. Let's whip out Bertha and see what's going on. Uh, or vice versa. The gal's not into it, and let's get the suckathon, the sucky machine, and let's do that with the dude together. It's like there's no shame in saying, honey, I've had a long day. I'm beat. Woody's just not there, but let's get out Old Faithful and you hammer one out and I'll kiss you and love you and we'll do it together, right? I mean, I think adult novelties can have a real positive impact on marriages. You don't have to just hide that shoulder massager under the pillow. Bring them all out, right? Get them all out.
Lay them all out and make a decision on what you're going to use that night. Absolutely. I think it's a great idea. I think that toys can definitely enhance your sex life, as particularly for women who need external clitoral stimulation in order to orgasm. 95% of women need external clitoral stimulation to get there, right? And so oftentimes, if you haven't learned how to use your hand to do that, you're going to be lacking in the bedroom. And so vibrators are really, really useful for that. And absolutely for men too. There's a lot of different toys that men can enjoy as well. And, BDSM or kink, that's a whole nother animal of toys that you can bring into the bedroom. And you mentioned, blindfolds, but there's handcuffs and there's, silk ties that you don't even have to go out and buy something. You can just go get all the ties that your husband never wears and have him blindfold you with them and tie you up and just love on you. So it's a beautiful thing to explore with different toys because it just brings more spice into the mix.
Yeah. Theoretically, I love all of that, theoretically, not in real life. Especially the sensory stuff, blindfolds, uh, the, feathers, different things that change kind of the sensory. It's not always just going, okay, two kisses, three pumps and a shiver, and I'm going to roll over and go to sleep, right? It's like, dude, seriously? If you hear something humming next door, it's me, all right? Because two pumps and a shiver is just not going to get it done. And I think, when I was looking through your website and going through some of the stuff, I gave my wife the quiz, my new wife. about, all right, how many women fake it? And I told her, I said, if you fake it, just tell me. Why do we have to go through this game, right? If something happened, let's just get out Old Faithful. Don't fucking fake it. Neither one of us have time for this shit, all right? You don't have to stroke my ego. But I mean, so how many women don't, and I'm going to ask you now because it was on your thing, how many women do, percentage-wise, do not orgasm from vaginal penetration?
So only 3 to 5% of women can orgasm from penetration alone. It is a very small number. Now, the number will go up if you're talking about penetration and clitoral stimulation together, then the number will go up. But if you're talking about penetration alone, only 3 to 5% of women can orgasm from penetration alone. So it's a very small number. And you mentioned faking it, right? 80% of women will have faked it in their lifetime. And hey, I'm raising my hand because I have in the past. And I refuse to do that now. When the man finishes, that doesn't mean that the game is over, right? You can still continue. You can still get yours. It's very, very difficult to have an orgasm at the same exact time, two partners having an orgasm at the same time. I think maybe it's happened twice in my life. So no matter what, one person is going to get there before the other person, and the person that doesn't get there first needs to continue to play the game so that everybody can get their needs met.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 2, doctor out there, for please me. How long does it take a woman on average to have an orgasm?
Well, it depends. If we're talking about masturbation, women and men, when they masturbate, can orgasm around the same amount of time. So it might take a man 2 to 4 minutes. It might take a woman 3 to 5 minutes. So it's really not a lot of time when we're talking about self pleasure. However, for women to get in the mood and be ready for penetration, okay, because during masturbation, oftentimes women are not using penetration, or they're using it in conjunction with external clitoral stimulation, maybe with a vibrator, or I don't know, there's so many different toys you can use. Yes. So did I answer your question, or was I in the middle of a train of thought and did I forget where I was?
I was having an orgasm. Well, I was having an orgasm while you were explaining all that. It only took me 2 minutes.
Wow. The question
when
was,
a couple's together, when a
right.
couple's together, statistically, what's the
Yes.
time frame for a woman to have an orgasm?
There you go. That was the rest of the question. So it takes women 20 to 25 minutes to warm up and get ready, because as the man gets his hard on, right, or his erection, a woman also has to get a quote unquote hard on, or get engorged. The clitoris, the vaginal tissue, the vulva, all needs to get engorged with blood, just like the man has to get an erection. And oftentimes people jump ahead, and that's when people experience painful sex. So 20 to 25 minutes of warming up, of foreplay, of touching, of licking, of caressing. And I like to say that the entire body is an erogenous zone. You don't have to just focus on the genitals, because some people may have a really, get really turned on by, being kissed on their neck, or maybe the back of their knee or their inner thigh. So exploring the entire body with your partner is so essential to knowing what makes them tick, what makes them turned on, and asking them. Have you ever asked your partner, what are the 5 top things that turn you on? I mean, a lot of people don't have these kind of conversations, You
mean a couple has to communicate about sex?
If you want a great sex life, yeah, absolutely.
Just like, honey, when I finish this beer, we're gonna go to bed for 10 minutes because I got Sports Center coming on in 10 minutes. So a woman, statistically, is a good 25 to 30 to 40 minutes of warming up and being in the mood to orgasm. And if not, they just fake it and say, fuck this. I'm just as bored as you are. Now, a man statistically will have an orgasm with a partner within what time frame?
I mean, a man can get erect in seconds. Okay. They just have to think
I'm
about it
erect
and
right
boom.
now. I'm
Oh
literally
my.
erect right now.
Keep that to yourself, sir. No. um, Men can, be ready for penetrative sex as soon as they're hard. So, for some men that have great blood flow and have a great imagination, or they're visual and they like what they see, they can really get erect very quickly. Women need more time because the vagina needs to elongate. And it's a really interesting um, phenomenon where it's called tenting, where the vagina actually elongates to be ready for penetrative sex. So if you are penetrating too early, it may be really painful. But if you prepare the area, you can really experience maybe deeper penetration than you would early on.
So a guy comes in, how quick does a guy come statistically?
I don't know the statistics on that. However, you can teach yourself to last longer. And so I often will teach people how to edge so that they can last longer, so that they can please their partner for a longer period of time.
Well, I Googled it, and guys are like between 3 to 5 minutes. 3 and 5 minutes of sex, and a guy will come, and a gal takes anywhere from 25 to 30. And so, Houston, we have a problem here, right?
Big problem.
There's definitely a serious duality issue or whatever. I don't know. I don't know words, but so if I show up and within 3 minutes I'm happy, spunky, and my wife is laying there going, "Dude, I literally haven't even taken my clothes off yet." Um, we've got a problem, right? I mean, that's where I would imagine the communication has to come in.
And that's why the orgasm gap exists, right? The phenomenon where in heterosexual relationships, men are having orgasms much more than women are. And so I love to talk about the orgasm gap. And I think it's really important to know the statistics, but also to know that you can teach yourself to pleasure your partner and to last longer. So, maybe don't start with the penetration if you know that you're only a, 5 minute guy, really do a lot more, pre warming up and foreplay, because you're never gonna pleasure your partner, bring her to orgasm if you are a 3 to 5 minute guy.
Well, it's that darn F word you keep bringing up, and it's not the four-letter F word, it's the other F word, foreplay. What the heck is foreplay, guys? We don't know foreplay. I thought unzipping my pants was foreplay. What is this foreplay stuff you speak of?
So foreplay can really, encompass so many different things. One of those things is oral sex. Another thing can be exploring your body from head to toe, having your partner explore your body from head to toe, and then exploring theirs to find out what the buttons are that you can push to really turn them on. It can be touching, it can be massaging. I love hands, so it can be penetrating with your hands as well. You can use toys to really get yourself stimulated. You can also jump into the kink world and use impact play. Impact can be really a turn on for a lot of different people. So you can be spanking or using, like you said, feathers or other sensory things like ice or warmth. There's lots of different things that you can incorporate. Music is also something that can really set the mood. Lighting, there's just so many things that you can do to incorporate your senses and your sense of smell and taste, that can really enhance the pleasurable experience.
I agree. I concur, my specialist. Um, I reluctantly shared my porn history with the world. Holy crap. But yes, I was exposed to porn very early in my life. It's different now than it used to be in a lot of ways. Um, pain can be very, very harmful to a relationship, to a marriage, especially when the guy starts drifting off and he'd rather just hammer one out to some phony porn than communicate his needs with his wife and bond with his wife. Maybe she's into the stuff he's watching and he's never even asked, but can porn also be helpful to a relationship?
I think it can be, but communication is essential. I had the porn nerds on my show. They were a couple of really fun
Wait,
ladies.
what? Wait, what was he?
The porn nerds. They're
The
two ladies that
porn.
have a show called The Porn Nerds, and they talk about how porn can actually enhance your relationship. And I think that our conversation was amazing. They talked about using porn to give your partner ideas. If maybe something is too embarrassing for you to talk about, you can show them a clip and say, "Hey, what do you think about this? This seems really hot, or this is spicy to me. This seems like something I'd like to try. Is this something that you would like to try as well?" You can use it to open up conversations about sex, maybe in a way that you weren't able to express just with words. So I think porn can actually be really useful. There's also, unfortunately, a lot of what you see in porn is male pleasure centered, but there is more female centered pleasure porn out there now. Unfortunately, you have to pay for a lot of it. um,
What?
the cheap, the free stuff is usually male centered. But you can explore with your partner and watch it together. That can be a turn on. Or you can, like I said, use it to give ideas to your partner about the things that you might be interested in. So I think it can be beneficial. It doesn't have to harm a relationship. If the person is so into porn that they'd rather, look at porn and get a quick, fix, and not be with their partner, then that is damaging. But, having your own sensual exploration is really important. So even when you are in a relationship, cutting out masturbation on your own, I think is really a bad idea. I think it's really important to continue to have a sexual relationship with yourself. And that could include watching porn. And I'll admit it. I like to watch porn. There's certain things that I like to watch that turn me on and help me to masturbate. So I think it can be beneficial to continue that practice as long as it's not harming the other person, or you're not obsessed with it where all you can do is watch it and you're not able to function in society. Then it would be a problem.
I have to do it daily, but I blame it on my prostate. I say, I'm sick, going to be 63 years old, and in order to have a healthy prostate, men need to ejaculate on a regular basis. It's good for their prostate. So I said, my proctologist said, dude, you got to masturbate every day if you want to have a healthy prostate. So doctor's orders, man. You just have to do it. But that doesn't take away from pleasing my wife because I'm 63, but we could still bring it. The other side of porn is, like you said, um, there's a lot of women now producing porn. And they do a lot of couples porn. They do a lot of women and women porn, but it's a different kind of pornography. Not always. I mean, because chicks will beat the shit out of you too and throw a strap on, and we'll just play like rock stars. But it does have a different tone to it, a different feel to it, which is a lot healthier than dudes just watching, midget donkey porn all day and just expecting that to happen in the bedroom. My wife hates when I bring a midget and a donkey into the bedroom. It's just the donkey's dirty. He just shits everywhere. Um, so I do get that. So let's switch a little bit. There's so many things that I love about you and your podcast and your website and stuff. So three things I want to touch on is, besides the Please Me podcast, we'll get to real quick. Um, Big Clit Energy. I'm gonna buy that shirt from your website. Big Clit Energy. Orgasm Revolution, and Orgasm Gap. And it's shocking to me how many women, although they live it, don't know about the orgasm gap. I don't think it just relates in their head, right?
If you've ever wished sex could feel more connected, more intense, or honestly just more fun, you need to check out Shameless Care. They're a telemedicine company built entirely around sexual health, real doctors, real prescriptions, and products that actually work. Like Shameless Chemistry, their oxytocin plus tadalafil blend that deepens connection and boosts arousal. Or Shamelessly Aroused, a topical cream with the active ingredient found in men's ED medication, increasing blood flow exactly where it counts. Every order includes a short video introduction from your doctor, transparent pricing, and no subscriptions ever. Just real, sex-positive healthcare that delivers results. Because you're a Please Me listener, you can use coupon code PLEASEME for $15 off your order of any product on the Shameless Care website. Use the code PLEASEME, that's PLEASEME, at checkout to claim your $15 off. Again, that's shamelesscare.com, code PLEASEME. Because great sex shouldn't be complicated. It should be shameless. This episode is sponsored by Shameless Care.
Are you looking for a sexy date? Look no further than SDC.com. SDC.com is the premier ethically non-monogamous website that is worldwide. It also hosts a wealth of information on sexuality and sexual health, and I host a free live webinar monthly on the site. You can use code 37340 for a free trial membership on me. And be sure to reach out on the site and say hello.
Hi, I'm Eve Hall from Please Me Podcast, and I wanted to come on here today to talk to you about something that I recently discovered, and I think it is such a game changer. During COVID, I gave up 3 things. One was not wearing makeup every day. And yes, I have makeup on today because I just finished recording a podcast, and I like to put my game face on. But on a daily basis, I'm not wearing makeup every day, which has been a big change for me. Another thing was that I stopped working for other people. And so hence my podcast and hence my private practice, Inspire Health Physical Therapy. And the third thing I gave up during COVID was wearing a bra. And the reason why I want to talk to you about that today is because I wanted to talk to you about Cakes. Cakes is an incredible product that I've been using so that I don't have to wear a bra all the time, but I can look like I have a bra on. And what it does is it just covers up the little nipple show that you have going through your clothes, and it allows your clothes to fit you seamlessly and smoothly. And it is a beautiful product, and they are so much more comfortable to wear than wearing a bra. And I have to say that it's so important to give your body time without a bra, because just like any other brace, if you're wearing an ankle brace or a knee brace and you wear it all the time, it's going to cause atrophy around that joint. And the same goes for a bra. If you're wearing a bra all the time, it's going to also cause weakness in your pectoralis muscles. And the pectoralis muscles are the muscles that help you to lift your breasts. And if they get weak, your breasts will sag. So wearing Cakes is really great for decreasing sagging. So I just wanted to come on here and tell you to get your Cakes. And I wanted to share mine with you. Today I have the triangle ones on, and I'm going to show you how easy they are. They adhere without adhesive to the skin naturally. And you can see they come in different colors, and you can see it just adheres, and it just allows your look to be nice and smooth. So make sure you check out the link below and get your Cakes today. I think because we don't talk about sex normally in society, a lot of people don't understand that that is a phenomenon that happens across the board in all heterosexual relationships, whether it be from hookup all the way to marriage and everything in between. I didn't know about the orgasm gap until I read a book, about it a few years ago. And I was like, holy shit, that's what's been happening to me. I didn't realize that it was something that everyone experienced because I'd never talked about it with anybody, So now I talk about it all the time because I have a show, and I love to talk about the orgasm gap because I think everyone needs to understand what it is. And that is what the Orgasm Revolution is about, is really just bringing awareness to the orgasm gap so that people can understand what it is, and through advocating for themselves, they can get their pleasure needs met. And you mentioned good big clit energy. Go
Yeah, and
ahead.
it's a true thing. I mean, it just is. I mean, like you said, the statistics are if 90% of women aren't getting off or 80% of women are faking it, obviously the dude's getting off. So there's your orgasm gap. He's getting off, you're not. And if it's 8 out of 10, times that you're intimate with your partner, 8 out of 10 times, you're not orgasming and he is, that's a pretty big gap. I mean, I don't know how you don't understand that. So how are you bringing this orgasm revolution to the people? And are we with torches and pitchforks in the street, or what are we doing with this revolution?
It's more when I go to different conferences, I'll set up a booth and I'll, talk about the orgasm gap and joining the orgasm revolution. And people will buy my t-shirt that says Orgasm Revolution on it, or they can buy any of the other ones, but that's like the main one. And then they say, they post it on their social media and then they say what the orgasm gap is. And why it's important for people to know about it. So it's really just spreading the message of what the orgasm gap is. That is being part of the orgasm revolution.
Yeah, well, it's an important part because, we all heard the adage, happy wife, happy life. And your wife needs to have an orgasm, dude. Let's face it. And either buy her a shitload of toys or take care of her, or both, preferably. I mean, work on it together. So I love that you're working on the orgasm revolution, and I strongly believe in the orgasm gap. But tell me about, you hear about dudes, a big dude, and he's got big dick energy, right? He's got swinging dick energy. So, what's the big clit energy?
So big dick energy is basically a man's confidence in his sexuality. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have a big dick. It just
Definitely.
means, yes, it just
Usually
means,
they don't.
right.
So, what is
So,
the big clit energy?
so so when I was on my show trying to figure out what the female equivalent of big dick energy was, I found nothing. I found some articles. I found some articles saying, that women can also have big dick energy. And they cited some people like Beyonce and Rihanna who are very confident and they exude their femininity, but they are still very powerful, etc. And I thought, well, that's all well and good for them, but I don't want to have big dick energy. I want to have a woman's version of big dick energy. And so I coined the term and trademarked big clit energy, which is the confidence that a woman has in her sexuality. And really, when you hone that confidence, when you work on that aspect of your life, it really does translate to all areas of your life.
Yeah, and I think a sexually satisfied, happy woman is more confident and someone who I think just is able to express themselves more. If you're if you have that relationship with your partner, where you have that type of trust, that type of open communication, where you're sharing your fantasies, you're sharing what you want, he's sharing what he's want, and you're experimenting with that sort of thing, that carries over into the world. That carries over into every other part of your life, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Which is why I love to talk about getting that big clit energy for yourself for women
I
or
love that.
men to get the big dick energy for themselves. I mean, men have
Yeah, I
issues and
don't.
hangups and things like that as well. So,
I don't have big dick anything. I don't have big dick energy. It's like a girlfriend of mine said, "Are you a grower or a shower?" I said, "What the hell does that mean?" And she goes, "Well, if you're a grower, when you just take your pants off now, your dick's small, but it gets big. If you're a shower, you take your pants off now, your dick's big, but it doesn't get any bigger." I'm like, I'm not either one. I got nothing. I'm not either one. It's always there. That's why I love toys. Um, so touching on the clit, and I know you're great. You've been so kind with your time. I got to get you out of here in a minute, but so touching on the clit, which we all love to do, is we keep hearing about, the little gal in the canoe, that for some reason people say guys can't find it, which is bizarre to me because it's right there. How could you miss it? And the mysterious G spot. Why do people say guys can't find either one of these things?
Well, anatomically, there's not technically a G spot when you look at an anatomical chart, right, of the genitalia. And maybe it's because they don't know what they're talking about in the medical field, right? And they haven't found the precise location where to
They've
put
never
it.
had a G spot orgasm, obviously.
But some people swear by the G spot. And so the clitoris actually is an amazing organ. It's almost the size of a penis. And only the part that you can see is the little nub on the outside. But it has clitoral bulbs. It has clitoral legs that wrap around the opening of the vagina. And so the clitoris is actually a much larger organ that you can stimulate. You don't only have to stimulate that one little nub that you see on the outside of the body. You can stimulate other parts of it as well. It runs underneath the labia, which are the lips of the vaginal, or not the vagina, but the vulva. And it also is internally in the vagina as well. So you can stimulate it internally as well. And then on the anterior surface of the vaginal canal, a little bit deeper, is what people consider the G spot. And so I encourage people out there to look for it, to try and find it, to see if that's the spot that really will turn your woman on, because if you're not looking for it, you will never find it. So it's like a treasure hunt.
It's a great treasure hunt. And I don't know for sure, but theoretically, I've heard there's like toys you can use to help with the clitoral legs and the G spot area. I don't know that for sure. I've heard that theoretically. Is that true?
Yeah. So if you get toys that have sort of like a curve and they're not just straight, then you can access that area more easily. So yes, absolutely. There are toys that you can get. You can also use your finger and curve it instead of putting it straight. You can curve it and focus on the anterior, which is the part that's closest to the belly button, instead of going backwards towards the anus.
I'm shocked. I had no idea you could do all this stuff. This is amazing, Eve. I'm going to ask one last question, or two last questions. I'm going to get you out of here. Is okay. The myth of squirting.
Mm-hmm.
My therapist. Can women squirt? And if they do, what is it?
So squirting is something that some women do all the time, and some women have never done in their lives. And basically, it is another type of ejaculate that can be emitted from the vaginal canal that is very wet. So it could be like a sprinkler, it could be like a fountain, and it can be in conjunction with orgasm, but not necessarily. So when somebody has a squirting episode, that does not mean that they just had an orgasm. They might have. You might want to ask, but that doesn't mean that they did. So squirting is a phenomenon that, I think people can really learn how to do on themselves, or have their partner learn to do on themselves. There's a technique that can help you to learn how to do that. You can Google it. I won't go into the details here.
I would never Google such a thing.
Well, you should if you want to pleasure your wife, and it's actually lovely. I don't always squirt, but I have squirted, and I've never not liked it. So
it's an
so there you
amazing
go.
it's an amazing thing, gals. If you haven't done it and your husband can't get you there, go and get a male escort, or preferably a female escort, and have her take you there, because I think a woman will take you there better than a dude will. So go get yourself a female escort.
That's interesting that you say that. And, it's very messy though. So make sure that you put lots of towels down, or you get one of those really nice, thick blankets sex blankets that you can put over your comforter so that you don't destroy your bed and your mattress.
Again, theoretically, I've heard they actually have these such blankets that you can lay down that are made just for that. God, it's
Yes,
just a little
I
weird.
have them in my store on pleaseme.online, so you can check them out. And it's the Liberator blankets.
Liberator does a lot of great stuff, I've heard. I don't know for sure, but pillows and lounges and all sorts of stuff. I don't know
Lots
that
of
for a
furniture.
fact. I'm
Hmm.
just saying theoretically, I've heard they have a lot of great little apparatuses for you on there too. It's
They
expensive,
do.
I've heard, but but it's great. So, Eve, you've been wonderful. I know you got to get cooking. You've got a bunch of different appointments. So, you've been wonderful. I could talk about sex forever because it's one of my favorite topics. Um,
Me too.
but I lied earlier because I'm a dude and guys lie. We're just liars. Um, I said I had one question. I actually have two questions. So
Okay.
I give you the first question. I don't give you the second question because I'm a liar. My second question is if there was something that you wanted to leave us with, a thought, a message, something that really meant something to Eve Hall, um, what would that last thought be?
I would say that there's absolutely no shame in having any kind of sexual health condition, whether that be a sexually transmitted infection or it be something like erectile dysfunction or the female equivalent, which is decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness. There are many different sexual health conditions like premature ejaculation. You mentioned, quick orgasms in men, right? Well, if you orgasm in less than 2 minutes, you have premature ejaculation, or fractured penis, or incontinence, which is a very unsexy sexual health condition, but it affects many people and many women. So if you do have a sexual health condition, reach out to somebody that can help you. And I am one of those people. So you can certainly reach out to me, but if not me, someone in your area that can help you to get those sexual dysfunctions under control so that you can really enjoy your sex life because it is really one of the biggest joys in life.
100%, my dear. I'm Adam. You are Eve. This has been a very wonderful chat. I could talk to you forever. So, guys, um, you're so right on that, Eve. I mean, it's like sex. We're humans. We're just animals with a very small brain. Um, and being with other people or being by yourself, pleasuring yourself, pleasuring a partner is very healthy, and there's no shame to it. If you have shame around it, like you said, find someone you could talk to. But more importantly, talk to your spouse, talk to your partner, talk to your lover, whomever you're with, talk to your right hand, your left hand, and share with what you really want. We only go around once. Why hide it? Don't go cheat to get it. Uh, Talk to your partner. That's who you're with. You should be sharing that with them. And so grateful that you came on to enlighten us with all this stuff. But before we go, one last thing is where can we find more of Eve Hall? Where can we go and see all your great stuff?
Well, my show is everywhere that you can find podcasts. If you want to go and reach out to me, or you want to check out my sex toy store, or any of the webinars that I've done in the past, or any of the educational things that I have on my website, you can go to pleaseme.online. And there, in the contact section, you can send me a message. It goes directly to my email, and I respond to all of those. Or you can also look at all of my social media links and you can follow me there.
Awesome. So go to Please Me. It's a great website. You do have to say you are 18 or over, which I lied. I did say I was 18 or over. There's great stuff there. There's some fun toys there. There's some great shirts and stuff there. There's some different stuff there. There's a lot of great information. The podcast is great. Your Facebook is great. So yeah, I love it. Eve Hall, the Please Me podcast. Uh, what a fun time. Wish we had more, but thank you so much for being here.
It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure's your business. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Please look for Eve Hall and the Please Me website and podcast. See you guys. Talk to you later. Bye.
If you're feeling disconnected from your body, struggling with intimacy, or facing a sexual health condition, you're not alone. There is no shame in what you're experiencing, and you don't have to figure it out on your own. But the longer you wait, the harder it becomes to reclaim your confidence, pleasure, and connection. That's why I offer a free 15-minute discovery call to explore what's going on and whether working together is the right next step. Spots fill quickly, so don't wait. The link is in the show notes. Grab your time now.
I want to personally invite you to join me on Patreon for ad-free listening, bonus episodes, and early releases. Already there is a lot of bonus content on there with many webinars that I've done in the past and a show that I've never released to the public before. My show is completely self-funded, and when you are able to support me in this way, I'm able to spread my message of body positivity, self-love, and women's empowerment, and empowerment in general around sexuality around the globe. And so with that being said, I appreciate everyone who has already joined Patreon. And if you've thought about joining, now's your nudge to do so. I thank you from the bottom of my heart.